marijuana law reform movement, the cannabis community is represented by thousands of dedicated defense attorneys fighting to end prohibition and keep us free. The Russ Belville Show visits with the tireless courtroom crusaders in our legalization, law, and order.
Welcome back, everyone. Time for us to get into some law and order. And joining us on the telephone today, we've got James G. Hunt, a practicing attorney and a writer for the Canna Law blog. James, welcome to the show.
Hi, Russ. How you doing?
Doing good. It was nice meeting you at the event just a little while ago, and so glad to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
All right, so I wanted to talk about this topic of marijuana and taxation. Our audience is somewhat familiar with the situation of the IRS 280E, this little part of the IRS code that forbids the marijuana dispensaries, the lawful cannabusinesses, and the pot shops, for that matter, in Washington and Colorado from deducting their standard cost of goods. Can you tell us a little bit more about the current situation, and then we'll get into this new memo that's come out?
Oh, okay. So, really, the new memo is the current situation. For a long time, there was nothing from the IRS on what to do about 280E. In fact, periodically, I'd type in 280E on the website and would come up with nothing, which I thought was kind of interesting. But in any event, at the end of last year, the Office of Professional Responsibility, which pretty much regulates people that prepare tax returns, kind of realized that these returns are coming, they're going to be filed, and they're going to have to start giving some guidance to taxpayers and people that prepare tax returns as to what to do. And operating in this kind of vacuum, a lot of retailers and other businesses were allocating certain expenses to their cost of goods sold under some various, different accounting ways of looking at it, and because frankly they just didn't have any guidance. And so I guess we can kind of get into the memo now. I mean, The memo came out a few weeks back from the General Counsel's office at the IRS, which is basically the think tank of the IRS, and someone asked the question of how do we apply 280E in the context of the cannabis industry. And kind of what came back was a pretty narrow and somewhat disappointing result.
All right, so this is a memo that was out just a month ago, January 23rd, how 280E should be applied for the cannabis industry. But now you make a point in the blog of saying this is just a memo. It's not a precedent or anything like that, right?
Right. That's exactly right. You can't really rely on it to cite to the IRS if you ever audited or not. But it does kind of give you an insight into what the IRS is thinking. And the memo itself have some phone numbers of some people who in fact are the IRS experts on Section 280E. So the people assigned to understand this code section were probably involved in writing this memo.
Okay, so for people out there who are involved in cannabusinesses, what can we tell them as far as what's allowed to be deducted and what's not?
Right. I always look at it like there's 4 buckets of costs you can kind of categorize, and there's a bucket of costs that you can always deduct, like rent, utilities, and that doesn't change under the memo. There's some prohibited costs like income tax. That doesn't change. And then there's this kind of gray area of costs that it depends on your accounting treatment. Well, the good news is the memo doesn't affect the deductibility of those types of costs. What the memo does affect is the kind of 4th bucket, which is basically, don't want to bore anybody here, but it's called the UNICAP rules. And those are where people are making allocations of, production costs and whatnot to their cost of goods sold. The memo pretty much disallows those types of allocations.
So this is going to lead to mass increase in the tax burden for a lot of these cannabis businesses. Is there any relief for them on the horizon?
Well, it's a real dilemma because on one hand they're telling you can't follow the memo, and then they kind of interpret it very narrowly. And so I think people are going to have to speak with their tax advisor and tax preparer to see what people's, everybody has a different viewpoint on how aggressive they want to be when they prepare a tax return. But at least they have to compare what they want to do with what this memo lays out. And unfortunately, it really is, there's still a lot of uncertainty as to what you can do.
Okay, so in addition to being able to deal with things like the utilities and the rent, what if somebody needs to pay for labor, their staff, their trimmers? What about that stuff?
Well, and I have to be careful here. I don't want to give legal advice over the phone, but you have to really look to see if it is an indirect cost that would fit into this Category 3, which is if your accounting system would allow it to be included in the cost of goods sold, you probably have a good argument that it would be included for tax purposes.
Okay. We're speaking with James G. Hunt. He's an attorney and managing member of the law office of James G. Hunt, working on multi-state tax issues and federal and state tax controversies. And we're talking about marijuana taxes in Section 280E. You can find James's post on this at the Canna Law blog, and we're going to post that right here in our chat room if anyone wants to follow and get in touch with you or find out more about this information. Now, moving forward, James, what sort of efforts are being done at the federal level to address this 280E situation?
Well, I really think there's been talk of including it in a bill to repeal it, but I think it's fairly uncertain at this point what's going to happen, because this is a pretty obscure tax code, and Washington, it may not get the attention of people in Washington. So I think really what needs to happen is everybody needs to contact their representative and let their opinions be heard about this tax issue.
This is something that's of very important consequence to the people in the cannabis states, but I would also encourage people in non-cannabis states to call their representatives as well, because this is federal taxes we're talking about. You don't have to be a Californian to care about what's going on with Harborside or any of these other entities. So looking at the federal Congress now, of course, in the hands of Republicans, and while they've made some moves here with respect to things like industrial hemp or supporting the medical marijuana movement, what's your feeling? Can you read the tea leaves on how the Republican Congress might want to deal with these tax issues, if at all?
Yeah, I'm not a political pundit, that's for sure. I'm just a pointy-headed tax guy. So I'm not gonna. I really don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I really think the important thing is that at a national level, people try and draw attention to how unfair this section is, and to get it repealed, or at least to kind of get a dialogue going. And I really think that's the best hope at this point.
Yeah. All right. So, James, thank you for that information. And I encourage anyone who wants to know more about these tax issues, IRS 280E, check out the Canna Law blog. James has got some great information and previous links on other stories as to why this entire section just needs to be repealed. How about that? What are the chances of getting this just repealed?
Yeah. It's really hard to say. It depends. It depends on a whole lot of things. It's really bad tax policy. That the tax code was set up just to kind of measure how much tax you owe. It wasn't meant to punish. And this is a code section that was kind of designed to target and punish people selling cannabis.
Yeah. All right. Well, James, before we let you go, if you've got any other contact information or websites you'd like to tell our listeners about if they want more information.
Oh, no, yeah, www.jghuntlaw.com.
All right, jghuntlaw.com. James, it was nice meeting you at the event, and we'll see you at the next one.
Hey, thanks a lot. Take care.
All right. Stay tuned, folks. When we come back, we've got Alex Rogers from the Oregon Medical Marijuana Business Conference. You know that's true because Roscoe told you so. We'll be back right after this.
You're tuned into the Russ Belville Show, the voice of the marijuana nation.